In the world of firefighting and public safety, reliability is key. That's why for over 2 decades, first responders nationwide have trusted the Fire Store as their go-to source for essential equipment, apparel, and accessories. From top-of-the-line firefighting gear like helmets, boots, and thermal imaging cameras, the Fire Store has it all, tailored to the specific needs of our heroes on the front lines. But they don't stop there. Their extensive selection also includes EMS supplies, safety apparel like flame-resistant clothing and high-visibility gear, as well as a wide array of tools from hand tools to vehicle extrication tools, supporting public safety professionals in their duties. Partnered with industry leaders, the Fire Store's commitment to quality and excellence is unmatched because when it comes to protecting communities, there's no room for compromise. Join the thousands of first responders who rely on the Fire Store. Visit thefirestore.com online or in store today. The Fire Store, your reliable partner for fire and public safety equipment. Hi, Chris Mc Loone here with Fire Apparatus and Emergency Equipment. Welcome to this edition of our podcast. Today's edition is going to be sort of an FDIC review. Today's April 29th. And believe it or not, FDIC wrapped up on April 20th. Lot to do last week. We had another podcast in there, so it's given me some time to reflect on FDIC, what I saw this year, what you need to be considering as well. First of all, 36,000 broke the record at FDIC for us this year. So of course our thanks to all those who continue to be committed to coming out, getting the best training that's out there, but more so to bring it back to your departments, not only on the training side, but also all of the firefighters who continue to walk the trade show floor and find what the newest innovations are out there. As I said before, I said in an editorial, to me, the folks who attend FDIC are the blueprints for the fire service, the blueprints of how you should be going about your business to get better at what you do. Attending conferences to get to learn the newest techniques, the newest tactics, the newest ideas that are out there in the fire service to bring back to your fire department to improve it. These are the blueprints. These are the blueprints. These are the folks you want to follow as you go through your fire service career. The ones who take time out of their lives to go to travel, sometimes pretty far. Indianapolis, it's pretty central in the country, but it takes some doing to get there for some. And for those who make that trek every year, of course, we are extremely grateful. I'm extremely grateful to you as a firefighter that you are coming to learn and to bring back to your own fire company. So 36,000, more than 36,000 this year. So what a year. It was great. We talked a bit about it in David Rhodes of Fire Engineering, Stephanie White of Firefighter Nation, and Ted Lee of GEMS. We all got together at the end of the show for an end of the show podcast, kind of a wrap up. And, one of the things that was repeated among the four of us was just that the vibe at the show was really great. It was just very positive. My Super Bowl time at that show is during the expo. That's when I get out and I get to talk to people, and I do quite a few videos out there. But through those videos, I'm learning about what is out there. But even among the manufacturers, the mood is good. It's a very positive atmosphere. And I heard that over and over again. It's, we're not, things are not necessarily returning to normal, but there's a lot of optimism, in terms of things. Now, it's funny, I talk about that. One thing that everyone does need to be thinking about. We just had, this great FDIC, a lot of equipment out there, a lot
a lot of rigs. There were a ton of rigs at the show. My goodness. And a lot of what we saw was what a lot of departments are bringing to the table when they design these rigs. I'll get back into that in a minute. But just as one other thing, today is April 29th, and I will be going down to the CFSI dinner tonight. And certainly, and this is going to be the Hill Day for a lot of people. The Fire Apparatus Manufacturers Association and PHMSA will have people on the ground there visiting Congress people. The AFG and the SAFER grant programs are set to sunset this September. And what that means is they go away. It is critical right now for everyone to get out there and mobilize and go to your congressional representative and ask that it be reauthorized again, for moving forward. These are tough times. And one of the things, although we are very optimistic, of course, and although, a lot of what we saw at the show, were new rigs. But what I heard from several manufacturers is that where their resources are focused right now, for the most part, is digging into the backlog that exists and getting it down to a more manageable backlog. The costs, they are what they are right now. And that is why the AFG and the SAFER grants are so critical, right now. I said it a month or so ago. I've seen the SAFER grants in action in the Philadelphia Fire Department, where they're reactivating companies that have been deactivated back in the 08-09 timeframe, when we had the recession. And with that, one of the companies that opened back up, it just by virtue of what was going on, its rig was a reserve rig. They need to get that replaced. AFG, the SAFER grant is what brought back the personnel for that company. So these grants do work. And when we talk about our rural fire departments and the age of the rigs that they're running, it is very difficult for a lot of these departments to get new vehicles. And they are really, what they are able to do to keep their trucks in service is just unbelievable. But these types of grants help them not only on the rig side. What I see a lot of are SCBA purchases, SCBA PPE purchases. There's a lot of focus there. They're kind of limping the trucks along, but they're making sure that their members have the newest equipment and the newest PPE, which is critical. We can get the truck there, or maybe an old truck, but if we're getting water out of it, that's perfect. But if the firefighters going inside are unprotected, that's when we have some problems. So, it was upbeat, but I'm going down to that dinner tonight. One of the parts of that dinner is to try to, is to bring awareness, about these programs. They talk about it every year. Last year, the theme was, speaking in a unified voice. And we talked about that. Speaking in a unified voice between the firefighters, the local representatives, the state representatives, and the federal representatives, all getting together, talking with one voice, one message, making sure that we get that out there. So I got a little off track there. I was talking about that upbeat, and it was very upbeat at the show. Just a lot of positivity, but I'd be remiss if I didn't remind everyone that we do have this grant program sunsetting. It is April. It is just about May. There isn't much time left. So we really have to get out there at the ground level, at the grassroots level, and get those grant programs reauthorized. They are critically important, and they help us do our jobs better. So again, what about the trucks? As I said, a lot of what we saw and a lot of what I heard at the show was about manufacturers getting into the backlogs, reducing the backlogs, trying to really devote resources to those backlogs to get them into a more manageable area. it's going to take time. I mean, that's really all we can say. It is going to take time. Those lead times have reduced a little bit, I think, because as a result of the pandemic, the manufacturers have found other streams to get the parts that they need to build these trucks. There does continue to be a couple of spots where there is a lag, but for the most part, they've adjusted their supply chains. And they know where to, if one manufacturer of a device goes down, they know where to get it from someplace else. So, there has been a lot of learning that we have done on the fire service side as a result of the pandemic, but also there's a lot of learning that has gone on the manufacturer side to ensure that if something like that happens again, they won't get caught. It caught everybody a little bit by surprise. Just what would happen as a result of everything. And so the sourcing of those parts, they've gotten a little bit more creative with how they do it. And like I said, things are improving. It's not going to be overnight. We know that. But trucks are being built. They are rolling off the line. They're coming as quickly as possible. One thing with trying to dig in and get out of that and manage that backlog a little better is that no one wants to reduce the quality that we, as the firefighters operating these rigs, expect. And I've said it before. There is no poor quality fire apparatus built today. And no matter I've driven throughout my career, different manufacturers, and they go into pump gear, and I get water out of them every time. And when I hear some of the stories about the early years of my fire company, the beginning of the motorized fire apparatus, and even going into the 60s and 70s, there were you weren't as confident every time, so I mean, we truly have come a long way, and it's important to remember that. Like I said, I get in there, the truck starts every time I get in. If I do everything I'm supposed to do to get that truck into pump gear and get water out, then it does perform every time. Wanted to talk a little bit about multiplexing. That came up quite a bit while I was at the show, and I know that that's kind of I don't want to say a lightning rod, but there are definitely people who are for it and people who are against it. And what I mean is, and they're really, it's one of those things where there isn't a lot of in the middle. It's very binary almost. It's either for or against. But it's out there. It continues to be out there. It continues to be something where, looking toward the future, we really ought to all, get to know a little bit more about it. It can reduce the complexity of the wiring systems. When you reduce the complexity of those systems, think about the lead times. If you're reducing the complexity of something, it makes it, if it gets it a little quicker out the door, there's something to think about. But, I bring it up because, there are not only companies providing to the manufacturers options for multiplexing. More and more manufacturers are creating their own proprietary systems. So, it is something that it would behoove everyone to get to know, because when we talk about the future and where we're going, those kinds of things are going to be prevalent. This is not a for or against kind of a thing. It's definitely just making sure to familiarize yourself with it now. Learn about it now. You never know. Suddenly, it's always kind of a price thing. And if it's going, suddenly you're going to look at things, and if it costs more to do one than the other, you're going to start to see a shift. Obviously, electric fire trucks were a big focus by different manufacturers at the show, and I like to look at electric fire trucks as an option. I do not and have not heard one fire apparatus manufacturer say, at least to me, that eventually this is all there's going to be. It's just going to be all electric across the board. There are so many things that have to take place in order for that to happen. The infrastructure on the station side. If you look at some of our East Coast cities and the age of those fire stations and the age of the infrastructure to those fire stations, you're not talking about something that's going to be easy to implement. However, there are a lot of municipalities that are requiring of their different departments across the board to reduce their carbon footprint. So for those who are not totally pro electric fire trucks, they are here. They are here to stay. They are an option for fire departments, and I personally think it's a good thing that the different manufacturers have recognized that there is a need in some way for these types of rigs and have gone and developed them. They're going to continue to change and evolve as we the fire service place them in service and really put them to the test. I have not heard of any catastrophic failure as of yet from a rig. We've all seen the different things, but when I say different things, I mean there have been different reports of different. I don't want to say issues, but a couple of things that if you are not for electrifying fire apparatus, might you might use that as ammunition. But everything that I have ever seen has been a fire truck that was purchased that needed to go back to the factory to have something addressed, and then it came back and it went back in service. No different than any other purchase that we make. There are lots of times where a truck has to go to the dealer to have some work done right after it gets here. We all have punch lists after a rig lands. So, there is, there's no difference in that way. Something happened, goes back to the factory, gets remedied, gets placed back in service. We've heard about, I've had a couple of different, electric fire truck customers on the podcast, and they've discussed how once the truck landed, there were little things that that needed to be done to adapt that truck to their operations, and just like any other vehicle. So a lot of focus on the electric fire trucks. They're here. I saw a commercial recently. It was a car company commercial, and basically that car company said, we whatever you want. We've got internal combustion engines, we've got hybrids, we've got electric. Whatever you need, we can provide it. And I really think that's what our apparatus manufacturers are doing. They've identified that there is a need in the fire service for these types of vehicles, and they have gone and engineered these vehicles for us. And that's really the bottom line. There are a number of them out there in service. That number is growing, and we will continue to see them adopted in different areas. As I said, for on that eastern seaboard, some of the older cities, it might be harder to place them in service. But different departments are going to give them a shot, and if the infrastructure allows, and then the infrastructure allows, there's a lot that needs to be done to get a station ready for these. So again, just wanted to throw that out there. But not only fire trucks. I relayed in the podcast that we did at the end that my fire company, we have a 1994, so it's an older vehicle. It's a mobile air unit. It has a massive compressor on it, with an equally pretty decent sized generator to run that compressor when we're on scene. And I was surprised to see not. Yeah, I was surprised. I just didn't know we were that far along yet. There was a mobile air unit that was a trailer, and it was a battery operated compressor. And it had a cascade. It had a cascade on it, and it had a pretty decent sized compressor on it. So we're going to continue to see this. Whether or not like on the during the hot classes, we've got battery operated chainsaws, battery operated K12 style saws, from a variety of different manufacturers. So obviously we're going to continue to see more and more battery operated units. But seeing something, I guess I shouldn't have been surprised, because if you talk about driving a fire pump on a rig with a battery, then like driving a compressor shouldn't be too far of a stretch. But it was neat to see, and we got a chance to take a look at that. Couple other things just that I saw. There's a department that is, and we're going to be having them on hopefully. There's a department that's running 2 trucks for decon, really. And the way they've got it set up is at a working job. This truck that is staffed by 2 firefighters is going to respond to the scene. Firefighters come out, and their gear never gets put back on the truck that they came on. The gear is doffed, it's bagged, it's put onto these other vehicles, which are repurposed fire department vehicles so far. And then they are taken away. A substitute gear is issued and taken away. It's laundered. It's returned to them on the next shift. So just an interesting program there, where we're still seeing that cancer awareness, and trying to reduce as to the extent that we can our exposure to the products of combustion, and our exposure to the various carcinogens that are out there. Technology. We talked about multiplexing already. We talked about the battery technologies that are out there. We're also seeing a lot of RFID being used. There was a department that was challenged with reducing its costs because there were a lot of for medicines for EMS. It was just difficult to track. They've implemented an RFID system that is keeping better track of that, and they've been able to really maintain and manage their inventory of different medicines for the EMS crews in that department. So RFID playing a big role. RFID also, there was another compressor manufacturer that has a whole RFID setup where via RFID, it's taking it's recording when SCBA cylinders are filled. You can even parlay that into an overall SCBA system, tracking system. So there's a lot of stuff going on, continues to go on with technology. Of course, there are any number of new and exciting tools that we get to see every year. There was one that was interesting. It was breathing air, supplied breathing air through a hose line, so that should something go wrong, and you need the buddy breather connection from your SCBA can be connected at the nozzle, and you'll be able to get some supplied air while the situation is rectified. That was an interesting one. We also had there was a new, and we'll see this in our June print issue when we do our FDIC review. There was a sort of a quick connect fitting for making hydrant connections. And Bill Adkins did a little video on that we'll see. So and he wrote up something about it. So a lot of neat things come out at FDIC. There's a lot of products that come out that we get to see firsthand from ingenuity, firefighter ingenuity. Firefighters, I've said it many times. You put a problem on the kitchen table, firefighters will figure out a way to address that problem and identify a solution for it. So the FDIC was really great this year. Again, very upbeat. both on the manufacturer side and the purchaser side. The folks we had the record year. The blueprints of the fire service converged on Indianapolis and left, and they were not disappointed. So again, this has been Chris Mc Loone. Just a quick podcast today. Just a quick review of FDIC. Make sure that you check out our June issue when it arrives. We'll have a number of our advisory board members have sent in their sort of reviews of the show, where what they found at the show from their particular areas of expertise, what they saw at the show, and they're going to give their critique, not critique, but their impressions of what they saw at the show. So again, this has been Chris Mc Loone with Fire Apparatus and Emergency Equipment. Have a good one and stay safe.
In the world of firefighting and public safety, reliability is key. That's why for over 2 decades, first responders nationwide have trusted the Fire Store as their go-to source for essential equipment, apparel, and accessories. From top-of-the-line firefighting gear like helmets, boots, and thermal imaging cameras, the Fire Store has it all, tailored to the specific needs of our heroes on the front lines. But they don't stop there. Their extensive selection also includes EMS supplies, safety apparel like flame-resistant clothing and high-visibility gear, as well as a wide array of tools, from hand tools to vehicle extrication tools, supporting public safety professionals in their duties. Partnered with industry leaders, the Fire Store's commitment to quality and excellence is unmatched, because when it comes to protecting communities, there's no room for compromise. Join the thousands of first responders who rely on the Fire Store. Visit thefirestore.com online or in-store today. The Fire Store, your reliable partner for fire and public safety equipment.